Hello everyone, welcome to Farm Tech, farming with a purpose. Today's video, our tour today, we have visited a great farmer here dealing in poultry. As you can see in our background there, we're interested in learning more about poultry. So allow me to introduce her without wasting any other time to know more. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm Helen Olo, a progressive farmer dealing in both poultry, crop, and also maggot growing.
Thank you for having us here today. Basically, our interest today here, I want to know more about poultry farming and how you do it. Our interest is to help farmers out there learn more about poultry farming.
Yes, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Here, we do a lot of handling poultry, and we bring one-day-old chicks. We start by brooding them, but before that, there are other steps that we actually handle. We have to prepare our brooding room. We have to organize the temperatures, the containers, disinfect the place. There is quite a lot. Meanwhile, you're welcome, and this is the place we are in.
Thank you. Please walk with us as we move into, I can see biosecurity taking place here. So what is going on right here?
There, we are spraying and disinfecting. We call it biosecurity. We can never be sure of where you've come from, your relationship with any other birds, with any other disease, with bacteria. So before you get into the farm, we disinfect you all around, and the area must be safe. You're welcome.
Thank you. So what chemicals do you use here for biosecurity?
We use ordinary disinfectants that are bought from the farmers' shops. We mix a concentration 50 mils in a 20-liter knapsack of water, and we spray around the place to make sure that the place is secure of any kind of infections. I started by having local birds around me. I would always try to rear them, but there were many challenges because they were on free range. So I conceived an idea that if I started with 100 birds, improved birds, maybe it would have been a better deal. So I started with croilers, fast growing birds, and I started with just 100 birds. I did not meet a lot of challenges because they were small in number. I was only disappointed when they all sold within 2 days. I sold the first 60 birds to a man who had an introduction ceremony around me here in town. And then the second time, another person came for 20. And then the last 36 birds, because I lost some on the way, were taken, and I had nothing to sell. Many customers would come around asking for birds, and I had nothing to present. I raised my number to 400 birds. It was quite challenging, but I managed. By the time we raised the 400 birds, we were able to take 349 to the market. That was quite an experience that was exciting because we saw birds grow up in large numbers, and alongside that, the skill was getting improved. I would move out for every farmer's workshop that is arranged within the country, whether it is in Central, in Kampala. I would always go, pay a little 20,000 to attend in order to make my skills better. And that is how I have kept on rising and improving on my number until finally I've been in position to raise 1,000 birds. Before I started bringing in these birds, I first stocked feeds. By then the maize brand was so low, I was in position to bring 3 tons, and those are 30 bags. And then I also do crop farming. I was able to have 10 bags of maize in order to act as broken maize. And then along the way, I also cultivated soya. I've also used it. But I use jubilee feeds as a concentrate that I use for mixing up. I've been employing people to do this work, but eventually my own children have had to take a hand in this. We use automatic water drinkers. Now the automatic water drinkers don't cause a lot of damp. Water does not spill onto the litter, and the litter remains dry. Then we also use these coffee husks for a period of about 1 month, and we change so that we don't get any kind of infections running around us. So our litter remains dry. And when we remove this litter, we don't just pour it away. We pack it in bags until it cools, and we rotate it back into the plantation, into the vegetable garden, and quite oftenly, we also sell it out. We start vaccinating when they come right from the brooder. As farmers, we are told they have given them Marex. Then the second one that we do as farmers, we do Newcastle. And then after every 1 week, we have to improve. We also do Gumbro. We also do fowl typhoid. And then we also do Newcastle IB. Quite often we use what they call Intradine. It is some kind of sulfur that checks on diarrhea, but it is a broad spectrum kind of medication for birds. And this helps and checks on many of them. And then oxytetracyclines in case there may be signs of wounds in the eyes. And then we also use it in a powder form. It is soluble in water. And then there are others like Ascarex is used when we are actually deworming. We don't do this oftenly. There is a schedule that we actually follow, and depending on the signs. But in this other farm of ours, we do more prevention. We don't wait for an outbreak, then we would begin gambling and treating. So that's why we are able to raise as many birds as you're seeing at the background. I do some IMO myself as a farmer. I brew IMO. IMO is indigenous microorganisms. And this is what I spray. That's why there is no foul smell in the poultry units. Then we also we use coffee husks. We don't use wood cuts because coffee husks dry and take long to decompose. But wood cuts, when they are wet, become damp, and then there is some kind of rotting and then bacterial infections for the birds. We also disinfect with biopower. We spray around the unit, and then there is what we call biosecurity. We spray area around. This is an open compound. There are also birds that come from the neighborhood. So we do biosecurity by spraying some meters around our poultry unit. And then as a person visits us, we don't let you into our poultry unit. Before you get into our poultry unit, you have to dip your feet into a disinfectant. And for us locally here, we use Jik. 250 mils in a 20 liter of water, and then we put there that other sponge. You step on it, and then you can access. We don't let the buyers enter into our poultry unit because we are not sure where they could have come from, the farm that they could have visited, what have they come with. So we pick out our birds and we give the farmers right away from outside to avoid kind of contact with our other birds. And then in case any bird is sick, we seclude it, we move it out, and we keep it in a different place altogether, so that kind of a sick bay, so that it recovers without infecting the other birds. It's very important to keep records so that you know whether you are progressing or you are actually declining. And then also to find out on how much you spend. You must try to find out how much you earn. Eventually, when you have tried to value the labor, the time, the lighting, everything should be put into record so that you notice eventually that there is some profit margin that you are getting. My structure does not look like what it brings out. It's not the structure that matters, but what you get out of the structure that actually matters. Because it's not good to put in a lot of resources on the structure and then you fail to maintain what is inside the structure. So with me, the materials, water, iron sheets, some kind of wire mesh. But when you look at the output, the birds are well fed, they are secure, they are growing. So I'm not spending more money onto the structure, but I'm using the money on feeding the birds and realizing the profit. So I'm calling on farmers not to use millions of money raising very executive poultry units and then fail to load the birds and feed them right in order to go to the market. My tank is not standing on metals, it is standing on strong wood. But by the time 3 years elapsed, I would have got quite a lot out of this other tank because we are no longer wasting a lot of water. There is no water that remains in the drinkers. Whatever water that gets into the drinker is taken by the bird. So I believe in using local materials. I use many things to feed my birds. Sure, I use maize bran and broken maize. And then I moved away from doing my own mixtures, like using cotton seed cake, using soya, using fish meal, using bone meal premixes. Because I realized sometimes either the cotton seed cake could have stayed in the market for a long time and developed toxins, and the birds would not grow. So I have gone on to concentrates. I'm using Jubilee feed concentrate for my birds, and it is doing me well. But alongside that, I grow greens around myself. I supplement the nutrition of my birds with greens. I also use caliandra. It's a high proteinous legume that, if sun-dried well and crushed and mixed in the feed, can cause very wonderful results. We have got the vitamins, and then we have the protein content. Now, you notice that in the poultry unit, my birds have got yellow feet. Their eyes are looking so bright like local birds. It is because of the kind of mixture of feed that we use. Caliandra improves on the eyesight, improves even on the taste of the bird. It has some percentage protein. Somebody can Google and find out how much of the protein content it has. It's competing with soya bean. Strangely enough, sometimes we round about 4 million in a month, 3 million, because now I've told you the birds in total were 1,200 birds. Now, after making some losses in between, we expected to get an equivalent of around 25 million. But I know we are somewhere there, and we are really happy because I no longer dip my hands into my pocket to feed the birds, to pay the fees, to maintain the workers, but I use the poultry unit itself and the birds inside to pay up for everything. And quite oftenly, something remains in my own account, and that makes me happy with the whole project. Utilize the resources around yourself, put up a small poultry unit, and then keep some birds. By the way, it is amazing. I don't buy chicken from out to eat. We eat what is within. So I do birds, and I don't go out to look for market. Market looks for me right away in this compound. People with functions look for me. People make bookings even when the birds are not ready. And in the evening, because people are drinking, people opt to come and pick birds for functions, roasting as a takeaway. So I encourage other farmers to do a little that brings in a little more into your family. And this is a skill. A bird, unlike possibly a cow, once you have fed it, it's comfortable. Once you have cleaned the unit, once you have changed the water rightly, it's comfortable and it grows by day. There are challenges. For example, while brooding, there can be challenges, there can be accidents. Now, sometimes when you're brooding, if you delay to wake up to check on the heat, you may find that birds have congested and you have lost them. I did lose birds when I was doing it the second time. I lost them because power went off, the birds got scared and they piled at the corner. By the time we woke up, we had lost 63 birds, and that was a big loss to us as farmers. Then in the past also, before I thought about going solar, we used to have power breaks. And quite oftenly, you would imagine that maybe when power has gone off, in 30 minutes time, it would finally come back. But there would be no power for almost 8 hours. But what has helped us now is to have a small solar panel that runs 5 bulbs, and it lights and it works for us. Vaccination has been quite challenging because it is such a great number. You have to sit down for quite a long period of time. We don't depend on open vaccination where you spray. We keep on imagining that some birds can miss out. So we drop at least in every eye of a bird alongside counting at the same time.
Thank you. I guess you have heard from our farmer today. And right here, I'm just amazed with this beautiful technology of coriander. As we talked about, just drying it and has proteins to our farmers out there. I think let's start using our local variable materials. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like our videos, and above all, support this channel. We shall keep bringing you more of the good content from all across this country of different farms that we shall have to visit. Farm Tech, farming with a purpose. Thank you.